So the Apple Vision Pro has been taking the internet by storm recently, and if you're anything like me, then you don't have $3,500 to spend on one. But I also didn't want to miss out on all this hype, so I decided to do the obvious thing, and that is make my very own Apple Vision Pro inside of a Roblox game. Yeah. So I hopped into Roblox Studio with a brand new template and a brand new idea. I was going to bring the magic of the Apple Vision Pro to Roblox so that I could experience this for myself and so that other people could too. But I also knew that it couldn't be just like the Apple Vision Pro because I don't want to get into legal problems, so I decided to make it more of just a generic AR, VR app. The cool thing about the Apple Vision Pro is it uses augmented reality, which makes everything look so much more real. That basically means that you can still see your surroundings while seeing applications and things like that inside of the headset. So I decided to make it so you could see a Roblox house while still seeing all your applications, just as if you had a headset on. For this, I decided to put my amazing modeling skills to the test and make an awesome Roblox house. I actually have a really quick and effective way to do this, and that is searching for free models. So I found this really cool house model that had an interior and an exterior that was going to be just what I was looking for. I put it into my Roblox game and made sure that it had a seat on a couch for you to be sitting in-game. The next thing to do was to actually make the AR, and for that I decided to use billboard GUIs. Well, that's what I started by doing. It turns out the camera looked really weird with billboard GUIs, so I decided to settle for surface GUIs. I put these on parts, and basically that just means that you can have buttons and things like that on physical 3D parts. Then I made the 3D part invisible, so all you could see were the buttons floating in the air. And I thought this looked really cool, honestly. It looked just like you had AR inside of a Roblox home. Then I could tween the parts to make them bigger and smaller. That just basically means they would smoothly shrink down and grow when needed. That would make it look like you're switching screens in an augmented reality headset. And just like that, I had made a main menu GUI. It didn't look great because I'm a scripter and not a UI developer, but I think it looked okay. I used gradients to make it look even more polished. After that, I made 3 rows of buttons. These were going to be the buttons that you could click to open various apps, such as games or messaging. And there we go, the core of the game was already implemented. We had UI, and we had a house. We already looked like we were in AR looking at some UI, so this was already turning out great. But next was time to actually script the UI. Now scripting is my specialty, so I knew this was exactly what was going to help the game come together. I made it so that the UI buttons would tween, which just gave it a little bit of a nicer effect. The buttons would just smoothly grow and shrink when you were hovering or stopped hovering over them. This just added a completely polished look to it, and it made the UI look 10 times better. And because I've been scripting for 6 years, that was super easy peasy, no problem, lemon squeezy. Yeah, no, I spent like a half an hour on that. I don't know why. Sometimes you just run into errors and problems. Turns out that I was using an int value, not a number value, and for those of you non-programmers, that just basically means I was using something that could not store decimals, so my numbers could only be like 1 or 0, not 1.02. That really messed up the sizing of the UI, but once I figured that out, it was super easy to add. And there we go, we had UI and we also had tweening for it, but why would anybody want to have a VR or AR headset without any apps? So that's what I got to work on. The first thing I wanted to make was a messaging system, and that's because the AR headset from Apple does the same thing. You can message and call your friends. I knew I couldn't do calling with Roblox's limitations, but I knew I could at least do a messaging system. This would kind of work like texts that you would send and receive. So I created some basic UI with that, and was able to use the same function I used to tween the big parts earlier for the messaging app. That made it so that the buttons would actually work. You could actually open apps now. After that, I created some remote functions, which basically just lets you transfer data between the server or the host of the game and the player. So that way I could go ahead and call to the server and say, hey, give me this player's messages, and it would send the messages back to load into the UI. I ended up using data stores for this, and if you don't know what that means, it's okay. It just basically means I was saving the data to save players' messages, and I also got that data whenever a new message was sent so that I could then save that new message. Kind of a complicated process, but I was able to get it working. And yeah, after a lot of trial and error, I was able to get the messaging system working. However, there were a few kinks in the system, such as you could say whatever you wanted with no filter to any player. And that's kind of a problem, so I used Roblox's default filtering service to filter all these messages so that people weren't sending nasty messages to each other. And there we go, now you could send messages to other players with just a username. Oh, and I also needed an app icon, so I did the smart thing and hired another developer. Psych! I made the icon all by myself because I'm a fantastic artist. I mean, look at this icon. It looks so perfect. No, I totally should have hired someone to do the icons. Anyway, I imported that icon into the game, and I put it in a module script, basically meaning that we could get that data and load all the icons. And there we go. We officially had a messaging app and a messaging icon for that app. Hey, what's up? This is me from the future editing this video. I hope you're enjoying the video so far, and if you are, make sure to go ahead and join the Discord server linked down in the description if you want to be part of an active and fun community of developers and Roblox players and just really cool people. You can also hire people and sell your creations for Robux, just a little side note. Oh, and while you're here, I want to tell you about something really cool. If you want to start Roblox development but don't know where to start, then make sure you watch this really fast, and if not, just skip to this time right here. I'll forgive you, it's okay. I recently created my own shop at codebro29.shop, where you can buy assets, scripts, and models for cheap prices that are also really high quality, so make sure you go and just, check that out. I actually put a full game up on that website for only $20. You may be interested in that. Oh, and if you're watching this within the first week of it coming out, you can use the promo code SECRETVISIONDISCOUNT for 10% off. That's Secret Vision Discount. Go ahead and use that at checkout for 10% off. Anyway, back to the video. The game was already coming along great, but it was kind of missing something. I mean, yeah, you were doing an AR sort of thing in a little house with messages, but I knew I wanted to add games because that's another important feature for the Apple Vision Pro. So I decided to add a quick little minigame. The idea for this was that there were going to be little bubbles of text floating on your screen with a specific letter inside of those bubbles. You were going to have to type those letters as quick as you could to pop the bubbles, and each time you popped a bubble, you would get some score. That way it would be an ever-going game that you could just play as much as you wanted. So I got right to work on that. I made this little UI that would hold all the bubbles, and then I made a script that spawned the actual bubbles. After that, I made a little function that would give a random number from the alphabet, and that way I could put it inside of the bubble. We already had bubbles on the screen. I also made sure you had a limited amount of time, meaning that the bubbles would slowly start to shrink if you were running out of time to pop it. That would make the game a little bit more fun to play. Then I just checked to see if the player was pressing the correct key, and if they were, I popped the bubble. If the bubble was popped, your score would go up by 1, and you could keep doing this as long as you wanted. There we go. Now we had two core features of the Apple Vision Pro. We had messaging and we had a game, plus it was augmented reality, so everything was going great. The next thing I decided to do was add a little loading screen so that it would feel a little bit more polished. I ended up adding that loading screen with a little note with my username so you guys can send me feedback through the messaging system if you want. That loading screen didn't take too much time, and I still had some extra things that I wanted to add, so I decided to add one more app, and that was videos. Another great thing about the Apple Vision Pro is you can watch movies or videos inside of your house completely in the headset. I guess you could just do that on a TV too, but hey, this is the future we're talking about. So Roblox actually recently made video frames, which would let you play videos inside of your game. So I was able to use those to make a little video player. What I did was just grab some of those videos, and then I made some buttons so that the players could go through all the videos and watch them inside of their Roblox home. It was pretty simple to add. I just added all these video frames and all these buttons, and there we go. We officially had video playing inside of this Apple Vision Pro. Now here was another problem that arose. I needed to come up with a name for this that wasn't going to be problematic with Apple. Obviously, this was not an Apple Vision Pro. This was my own augmented reality headset, just inspired off the Apple Vision Pro, and I didn't want to get into any legal trouble. So I asked my friend for some suggestions, and this is what he said. Apple Vision Roblox? Introducing the VR Vision Ro. Totally my name, and I didn't steal from my friend. If you want to go check it out, links down in the description. You can play it, you can send me a message, you can send your friends a message, whatever you want to do. Oh, and I need to add some more apps to this thing, so if you have any suggestions for apps, please let me know down in the comments, and I would love to do a live stream creating your guys' app suggestions in the VR Vision Ro. So if you have any suggestions, let me know down in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed so you're notified when that live stream happens. Other than that, thank you to Samuel Ramsey, McMuffin, and Snorlax for supporting me on Patreon. If you want to do so too, the link will be down in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, I really think you're going to like the one up on your screen now. So go ahead and click it, and I'll see you there.